Right, we had Facebook Live running in the background as well.
So I am officially going to start this this wonderful show tonight. We're Chris and Susan Beesley. We're broadcasting this live from just outside London in the UK. It's just past 7 p.m. here, and our very special guests on An Audience with Chris and Susan, our entrepreneur show tonight, is the one and only Sharon Lechter, all the way across the pond in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's morning for them. So thank you so much for joining us, Sharon.
Oh, I'm delighted to be with you, Chris and Susan. It's exciting always to reach across the pond, the miracle of modern technology, right? So yes, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning here, and we're already pretty toasty here in Arizona, but I'm delighted to be with you.
It's quite amazing, actually, isn't it, that you think that in our lifetimes, and I know you're baby boomer like us, that the thought of actually being able to do this sort of thing when, realistically, just going back about 20 years, maybe 25 years, was absolutely sort of one of those things like landing on the moon, wasn't it? It was sort of, it'll happen one day, but the thought of being able to actually communicate live video across the world is amazing.
I just think it's something that we really have to harness as well. And I think we talked about this when we first met you in London in 2012. So I'm just going to give everyone a little bit of an introduction to tell you who you are and how we met you, and then we've got a whole raft of questions for you from our tribe, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. So let's take you back to 2012 when we first met Sharon at an event where she was speaking. I think it was Act and Grow Rich, if I remember rightly, and it was in London. And I remember getting the tickets for that event and thinking, I really and truly want to get the chance to interview Sharon, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I do that, because at that time we had just given up our management consultancy and we'd taken our whole business online. And it was because of our personal situation as baby boomers, realizing that if we didn't make some changes in our life and become entrepreneurs, we were pretty much going to be working as accountants and management consultants in our own business for the rest of our lives. And we were totally inspired by what Sharon had to say and her focus on financial literacy, not just for people of our age, but especially at that time for the children and our grandchildren, as they will be now coming up into the future. And did I get that interview? Well, yes, I did. And Chris will just share you the little bit of story of how that happened.
Yes, it was one of those things Susan said, I don't care what we have to do, we're going to get that interview with Sharon. We're just going to ask her one question. That's all I want to ask her. And during the presentation that Sharon was giving, she actually held up one of these books. And it went up for auction. And Susan just said to me, I don't care what it costs, we have to get that book. So I remember we bought this book, we paid £250 for this book. And it was autographed by you. It's got your autograph, it's got your signature in here somewhere. There we are.
And I do treasure that, Sharon, I really do.
And that was the way for us to get to sit with Sharon, have a photograph, which was amazing. And then just at the end, Susan said, do you mind if I ask you one question on video? And Sharon actually said, she said, I'm getting on a plane to Dublin tonight and I've got 7 minutes. So if you have 7 minutes, we can do it. And that's how it happened.
And I guess really, that's something that really you should think about as an entrepreneur anyway. It's the taking of action on something that you really, really, truly want to do that makes all the difference. You can dream about it, you can visualize it, and you can do all of that stuff. But if you don't actually take the action on it, it seriously is not going to happen. And we thought, what a better way to introduce our very special guest tonight. and have her answer your questions. Now, if you don't know who Sharon is, which I'm sure you do after all the promotion we've done for this show, she is an accountant, a CPA first and foremost. She's a baby boomer like ourselves, and we're women, so we're not going to share our age, are we, Sharon? But more importantly, she is the lady behind the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, games, business. And, we were completely blown away by that because, you very often don't realize that until you start looking into it. And, when we met her at that event in London, we also found out that, and I hope I quote this right, that you were an emissary or an ambassador for the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And your absolute passion, as is ours, is financial literacy. So we're really delighted to have you on this show tonight. And I'm gonna hand it over to you, and perhaps you tell everyone a little bit about yourself if I haven't filled it in correctly.
Well, I appreciate the wonderful introduction that you gave, and I'm curious as to what I said in 7 minutes. It'd be interesting for you to tell me what the question was that you asked me then. I do remember very much meeting you in the quick interview. I just don't remember what the question was, but and I was on the way out the door, headed to Dublin because we were doing the same event the next day in Dublin. So it was a great trip, fun trip, met incredible people, including the two of you. And welcome to everyone that's watching this, and so delighted to be having this conversation today because it is, your introduction was very thorough. Yes, the Rich Dad organization I founded and helped build for 10 years and left that and was honored to be working with President Bush and President Obama on Financial Literacy Commission for the presidents.
Wow.
So that was a huge honor. And during that process, was when I got the call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation asking me to step in and help support them. During that time, we had a global economic recession, 2007, 2008. And many people, young people under the age of 50, it's getting older, young people getting older, didn't even know who Napoleon Hill was. So with the economy crashing, we felt that it was very important to reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill. And so it was a huge honor. And I tell people, had I not made the decision to leave Rich Dad, which was my baby, I built it for 10 years. Had I not made that decision, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to work with presidents. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to work with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So everyone watching this, sometimes you have to close one door in your life for other doors of opportunity to open. At the time, I didn't know what my future held, but I knew I was no longer happy in the situation that I was in. And I made that decision to stand in my power and allow myself to leave a situation that was no longer congruent with my own personal mission. And so this is what the world delivered to me, was these incredible opportunities. And so it is taking action, just as you said, Susan, taking action. We talk about the very first book that I did with the foundation, 3 Feet from Gold, in that we talk about a personal success equation, combining your passion and your talent. And so my passion is financial literacy, but it didn't come from loving it. It came from being angry that we weren't teaching our children about money in school. My talent, as you say, I've been an accountant for more years than I care to admit, and my background in publishing. So I was able to combine those two, but most of us stop there. And that's where it's so important to understand that the world is not created for us to be alone. We need that power of association. So the success equation is passion and your talent times the right association. So you took action. The next A in the success formula is taking action. You took action, both of you, to create the association between us. And as a result, here we are again, years later, 5 years later, having another conversation, but also having faith in yourself. And it's that lack of faith that sometimes prevents us from taking action. And so that's really my mission today, is again, being available and supporting those people that are trying to create a financial future freedom for themselves, and to give them the tools and the education that they need to not just to survive, but to thrive in the world that we have today. And so it's my honor to be with you all tonight, and I'm here to support you and answer any questions that you have.
Oh, that's fantastic, Sharon. Thank you so much. And I'll tell you what that question was, just to remind you, and we have never forgotten it. We asked if you were going to become an entrepreneur, start your own business, how should you do it? And I remember so clearly you saying the best thing to do is to start part-time, to remain with your current job, employment, career, and build your part-time business until such time as it was able to stand on its own 2 feet. And we remember that so vividly because that's exactly what we had done. And even to this day, we teach and train and recommend exactly that, because it's so easy with the internet. It has powers to persuade people that everything is easy. And that is not such a good thing, because anything easy has to be worked on first. And I once heard that to be an overnight success takes about 10 years. And I would say that pretty much sums it up. I know how hard we've worked to get where we are today, but it's because our passion drives us, just as your passion drives you, just as our viewers here tonight who are entrepreneurs, who are wannabe entrepreneurs, who maybe have been trying and not succeeded for any amount of time. All we can say to you is please don't ever give up, but do take the action that you need to take on your business, because it will fulfill your needs eventually if you do what it takes. So that's just a reminder for you, Sharon, and I'll just get some questions ready for you that we've had come in.
Yeah, one of them, which I think is actually, it's a very interesting question. It's how has financial literacy changed in your lifetime? Because
well, it's interesting. I love that question because on one hand, it hasn't changed at all. The lack of financial literacy is as pervasive as it has always been, because we're still not teaching our children about money in school. So when it comes to money, and as much your comment about my question 5 years ago, starting a business on the side, one of the reasons I recommend that is that at the end of the day, we're all either masters of our money or slaves to it. And a lot of people stop their employment and jump into starting their own business, assuming they're going to make money on day one. And when that money doesn't come, then they are in a world of hurt and the financial stress and distress. And it's hard to think clearly, high emotion, low intelligence, right? So we want to make sure that we provide ourselves every opportunity to succeed. So allow that revenue that's coming in to sustain you while you're building up your part-time business to the point where it can now take over your financial needs so that you're not under stress, because we're either a master of our money or a slave to it. And unfortunately, a lot of people start their own businesses, find themselves a slave to money way too soon. And so keep yourself above water. So financial literacy has changed from a standpoint of the ease of starting a new business. We have the internet. And so whereas 20 years ago, it was much more difficult to start a business. You had a lot more shoe leather to use and driving in a car to go meet people and have those conversations. And so it wasn't as easy to get a business up and running then, and much easier today. But with that ease comes a lot of frustration and perseverance has changed. Perseverance is very important part of success, because even though the internet makes it easier, it doesn't make it less stressful. And so that perseverance of taking that action over and over again helps you succeed. I know that 30 years ago, the idea of a safe, secure job from a financial perspective was much more secure. People could really rely on the retirement. Today, that doesn't exist. So the need for financial literacy is even greater today than ever because of that. Safe, secure job, that idea is antiquated. It's an antique. It's no longer something that people can rely on. So we cannot rely on our government. We cannot rely on our employer, and we don't want to rely on another spouse either, from a standpoint of should there be death, should there be divorce. So we need to take responsibility to educate ourselves about money, educate ourselves about financial health, and realize that with every dollar we get, we have a choice. Are we going to use this dollar and spend it on something that doesn't build wealth? Or are we going to invest it in something and buy, build, or create an asset that asset will then generate revenue that we can use to buy things for ourselves and to improve our standard of living? Because today, more than ever, we must create assets. And most of us are still our only asset. If we don't get out of bed in the morning and go to work, we don't have financial health. And that's the transition that we're trying to talk about today, is focus on assets. I say on all my talks, sexiest word on earth, asset. If everybody could just remember and focus on assets, if you think of every wealthy person on the globe of history to today, they all were wealthy because they had assets. And we're still not teaching our children about creating, building assets. So.
Wow, what an answer to that. And you know, you said the perfect thing. I guess we understand it because we're accountants. We understand balance sheets and we understand how important assets are. And actually, funnily enough, I was just started to read a book by Daniel Beesley. I don't know if you know him, but he's also an author. He's just created and released a book called The 34 Assets. We've read his Key Person of Influence and oversubscribed. He's got a whole raft of entrepreneurial books, and anyone watching this should definitely get those. We have actually interviewed him on our show, but he, like you, Sharon, is absolutely dedicated to showing people that becoming an entrepreneur and having your own business really and truly is one of the best things in the world, and will give you, if you do it right and persevere and are committed and are focused, will give you that freedom, that financial freedom, and choice. Choice is so important, you know, and we don't have it. We didn't have it in our careers before we even started our management consultancy business. You know, you just turned up for your job, you turned up for work and you got paid and you went home, and if you were lucky you had a few weeks holiday and you got remunerated for the work that you did. Now everything is so different. As an entrepreneur, when you create those long time assets in your business, they will serve you for the rest of your life and become a legacy for not only your children but your grandchildren. And you know, we're in the later years of our life, if I can say. We often say we're no spring chickens, and I don't know if
we're saying 60 is the new 40
yeah,
now.
60 is definitely the new 40, but
yeah, 80 doesn't seem that old anymore to me.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't, does it?
It doesn't, not at all. But you know, if we look back in the years, you know, I can remember like our parents at our age, we were thinking, oh my goodness, they're old. And now we don't think like that. We think like, well, this is a new life for us. This is our time. And this is the time when we can not only live our life that we've worked hard for, but we can help others to achieve that and create that legacy, if you like, through education. And I believe there's nothing better than that.
No, I mean, we call it the magic of entrepreneurship, and I think it's a description that I sort of read somewhere, and I thought, oh, that sort of absolutely says exactly what it is. And on one hand, it's hard and it's difficult, and you're working potentially on your own, certainly when you start out, or when a lot of people start out. But as you quite rightly said, you have to have that association, people who you can share, you can talk to, you can have as a community. Really, really important when you become.
If you don't have the associations, what you do is you've just created a job that you own as opposed to a business that you own. And that's where we end up wearing ourselves out, because we've created a job. And so again, where it's 24/7 without any leverage. And as you create a business and surround yourself with the team, the people that can support you building it and create the systems, Mike and I, my husband, we just released a program a few months ago called Essential Components of a Successful Business as an online delivery program. And we did it because there's so much stuff on the internet, so much bells and whistles on how to create things. And I said, but there's no depth of material, there's no depth of content. And so we literally went into the concept of everybody, the most successful businesses do one of two things. They solve a problem or serve a need. Yeah. And we are enamored with what our deliverable is. We are enamored by our product or our service that we provide. But in order to build a very successful business, you must have a bigger package. You need to think about your legal structure. You need to think about your communication strategy. You need to think about the intellectual property that you own, your unique selling proposition, and make sure you protect that. You need to have that communication strategy and the marketing strategy and the business systems that wrap around the business that really create the asset. With the business systems and the team that you have, instead of creating a job, you're creating a business, and that business is the most successful asset you can build. But all of those things are an essential component of building that successful delivery system for your product or service. And so it's important to get into the weeds and look and see, have you created the structure, the foundation? It's like building a foundation to a house. If the foundation isn't strong, the house is not going to weather the storms. If the foundation of your business is not strong, your business is not going to weather the ups and downs that we face in business every day. And so it's important for each and every one of us to think about, have I put in the foundation strength for my business? And then if you do that, then you have the ability to leverage and leverage quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. And I think that's, to be honest, that's the one thing out of all things that the internet has really enabled people to create, to be able to leverage. I mean, you just said it, your new product is a digital download effectively. And therefore, you know, it's easier to deliver. You can deliver it to a global audience. And I think that is the one thing that the internet has really given everybody today is the ability to leverage in a simple way. It's not easy, but in a simple way, if you have that right system in place, then absolutely leverage is the key.
And of course, there is just so many different ways to do it. You know, we have our way that we know works for us, and we work with clients all over the world showing them what we do. But, you know, there are other different ways to do it. The internet has opened up so much. You've got e-commerce, you've got Etsy and sites like that where you can turn your hobbies into creative products that you can then sell. And they, you know, many of these start out as side incomes, just like you said earlier, Sharon, and become huge global businesses because one idea can be sparked and somebody picks up on it and suddenly it's everywhere. You know, we often talk about having a local global business because, you know, you're in Phoenix, Arizona, we're in London in the UK, but our reach is global. Our clients are global because the internet has allowed us to do that. And I think the more people that we can reach in our own different ways, on social media certainly, because it's the biggest way to build an audience and build a tribe, we can help people. But they have to want to help themselves as well. And that's certainly, I mean, that's one of the questions I've got here for you as well is, someone said to me, because I asked them what questions would they like to ask you, and they said, well, this person said particularly is like, I want to do it, but I'm not really sure if I can do it. Now, I don't know if you can answer that because we certainly can't. I guess it is a mindset shift at the end of the day.
Well, and I think exactly what's happening for that individual that's asking that question is they've got that negative thing telling them that they're not worthy. And I challenge them to change the shift from I can't do it to how can I do it? I talk a lot about, when we talk about money, people say, I can't afford it. And that's a negative statement. It closes your mind.
Yeah.
But if you can just switch your dialogue and go back to how can I afford it, that triggers your creativity. It triggers your entrepreneurial spirit. Your body, your mind wants to answer the question. So by changing that to how can I do it, it opens up the world of possibilities and triggers your entrepreneurial spirit. So you may not have the tools today to build a business. Do you have the desire? And maybe that desire is a fear, may come from fear of loss. Maybe you realize that the job you have right now is a little shaky. And you think, well, I've got to do something. Do I go look for another job, which maybe that's the right thing to do for you? Or do I create a business? And I challenge you to look around to those people around you who have businesses. And if they can do it, why can't you? You know, the philosophy I've lived my entire life is why not? Why not try something different? Why not try that path less traveled? But I will recommend the Napoleon Hill's book that was hidden away for 75 years, and I brought it out a few years ago, called Outwitting the Devil. It really is, it was his intended sequel to Think and Grow Rich, the book that you just picked up. Oh, there you go. There it is.
There you go, look, Outwitting the Devil.
It is about all of that negative stuff and
brilliant.
how to identify it and their triggers. And it's like putting a cloak over yourself. And once you really look at it and identify it, you can release it. And the book helps you walk away from things that are causing you to stay in a cesspool of negativity and create a better path for yourself. There is no reason that you have to start a business that's huge. Start a business that's small, that you can learn along the way. You're going to make mistakes. We've all made mistakes. The question, are you going to learn from them? Are you seeking the right counsel? Do you have the right people around you? We all learned how to ride a bike. We all learned how to do things, and we had a few scraped knees along the way. So starting a business is not assured success, but starting a business with the right people on your team, creating the right foundation for that business, seeking that information and that knowledge, and then taking action to employ it is assured success. As long as your principle is sound. Are you solving a problem or serving a need? We certainly have a lot of problems and a lot of needs in the world. And every one of us has had good ideas. The question is, have you made money from those good ideas? And so I would challenge you to reframe your thought as, can I really do this, to how can I do this? And it's one step at a time. So.
That is a perfect answer, and I really hope the gentleman is watching tonight, or will at least watch the replay of this, or maybe he'll see it live on Facebook and know that you answered that very specifically for him. But generically, you've answered that for a lot of people. I can tell you from the subscribers on our list and our Facebook audience that that question comes up over and over and over again. And shortly after we met you, Sharon, we teamed up with a very good friend of ours, Amanda Ollier, who, like us, was just starting out as an entrepreneur. And we put together a book called The Mindset Shift, from employee to home business entrepreneur. And in fact, your interview we made with you and the transcription of that actually went into one of the chapters on the book, because we felt it was so important. And that book, even today, it's on Amazon. You know, we get amazing reviews on it because people, it's so simple. We've just laid it out in a very simple fashion and answered all the questions that most people have. And if they take action on it, and we're going to talk about action a lot tonight, they can create a home business, and a global home business. You know, that's certainly what we did. We had no idea when we started out back in 2010 that we would end up speaking around the world, sharing our passion, that our passion would actually become working with people in and approaching retirement, sort of 40, 50 plus, 60, and helping them come to terms, in fact, with their financial difficulties in retirement. And I was reading just this morning and posted out on Facebook, actually, to make sure that people actually came to the show, because I want to ask you this question, if I may. I was reading on Investopedia, and they were talking about, specifically about the American market, but let's be clear, this is a global problem, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe or the United States or anywhere around the world. We are all at the mercy of the governments who run our countries and what will come to us in social security benefits, if you like, for our retirement if we haven't made any provisions for ourselves. And I'll read this question out, if I may. And it says, in June 2015, Government Accountability Office analysis, and this is in the United States, found that average Americans between the ages of 55 and 64 have accrued about $104,000 in retirement savings. Sounds a lot. Not when you realize that sum would translate into $310 monthly payment if your money were invested in a lifetime annuity. So our question is that even if you are not in our age bracket, this should be a real wake-up call for you, because how are you ever going to stop working if you don't have enough money to live on? And this is our soapbox, if you like. This is what we're trying to get out into the bigger, wide world. And I just wonder if you have something to add to that, Sharon.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what you're highlighting. So I think it's important we have to take accountability. And that's one of the biggest issues that I see today, is that there's too many people wanting to play victim and to blame others for the circumstances that we have in our life. And every one of us, we are where we are today because of the choices we've made in our life before today. And if we want something different, we need to make different choices. And so today, more than ever, we have the ability to create the future that we deserve. And their tools are there, the opportunities are there, the resources like the two of you to support people are there for people to truly make a change in their life. Change is daunting. Change is the spice of life, and it's the fear of life. Mm-hmm. And so are you going to fear change, or are you going to embrace change? And I think that's kind of, what you're talking about, is that we have the opportunity to see that change is inevitable and use it to make us stronger, use us to create, again, with each change, there creates opportunity, problems, needs that need to be served that can help create businesses. So I support you 100% in using that philosophy and telling people that they need to take control of their own lives.
I mean, the other thing that we quite often get asked is, funnily enough, we were teaching and training at an event over the weekend in London, and there was a whole range of different ages of people in the room, but I guess the average age must have been probably 45 plus, I would think, something like that.
Easily.
And people looking to start become entrepreneurs in an online business environment. And one of the questions that sort of comes up, or we were asked, was, how old were you when you started online? Am I too old? And, be honest, I was 57 when we started an online business. So we had a complete skill set change, a complete change of mindset that, from working time for money with clients and working with other businesses and working with them, all of a sudden we were in this whole new world. And people find that scary. Are you finding a very similar thing in the people and that you talk to?
Well, absolutely. Number one, we're living longer, and the retirement age is no longer I'm 63, so I'm okay sharing my age. And, people think, well, you're close to retirement. Well, what am I going to do? Sit around and twiddle my thumbs? No, I'm going to continue working as long as I possibly can and continue to supporting other people finding that next best chapter. What you're talking about, I say, let's reframe how we look at that, the fear of being 57 or 59 or 65. And that is now that my next best chapter or my encore. Now I have the wisdom, I have the opportunity to create what I want and do what I want. Responsibilities for raising children are done. I have the opportunity to create and use the time that I have left to do something that's meaningful to me or meaningful to the people that I want to support. And so it comes back to the same thing we just talked about. It's change. People have this vision that by the time they're 55, they're set for life and they're going to be able to relax and enjoy life. And yet the world has dealt them a different hand. And they see themselves at the age of 55 or 60, 65, not financially secure enough to be able to enjoy the rest of their life. And so it's a challenge and it's a disappointment. How are you going to deal with that disappointment? Are you going to seize the opportunity to find something that you care about and create a business around it so that you can love what you do? And that's even better than retirement.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to enjoy doing something, I'm not going to do it. That's my gift to myself. But I'm still out there doing things that I get joy from. And I'm making a living doing it. And so, again, we have to redefine what our expectations are. The greatest frustration in life is unrealized expectations. And so let's take an adequate and honest look at what our expectations are and what our opportunities can become if we seize them, and seize them in a way that we get up every morning doing something that we care about. And then it's not work.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's exactly, it's quite funny because I was talking to some people during the week last week and people were saying, oh, it's a bank holiday weekend. What are you doing? And my standard answer is, because we were actually at an event, I said, we're working. And they said, wow, you got to work the whole weekend? I said, well, no, only Saturday and Sunday.
But we love it.
But we love it. It's not working for us. Oh, yeah, but it's the weekend. It'd be far better to do it during the week because it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It really doesn't. If you enjoy what you do, if you love what you do, then it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. And whether you do it 6 days a week, 7 days a week, or 2 days a week, it really doesn't matter.
And if they look at you like you have 3 eyes, that's because they don't enjoy what they do and they can't imagine doing it on the weekend. And that means that they're the ones that see that joy in you and they realize, looking back at themselves, that maybe they need to make a change in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things, that it's very hard to get people to actually recognize in themselves, because there's a hell of a lot of people out there with a poor financial situation going into retirement, or an insufficient financial situation. And we find that a lot of people just bury their head in the sand and they know it's bad, but they won't look at it and address it because they don't want to know what they see or won't like what they see. But they don't look at the opportunities that the world now gives them for getting out of that position. Are you finding that as well?
Well, I think it's, again, it comes back to, I just did a podcast interview the other day because I was sitting down, I was playing with alliterations, which I do all the time. I go, we start out life with very curious as children, and then we become very creative. We play with blocks, we play with things, we create imaginary forts, we do whatever, we draw outside the lines, and our creativity is just, on steroids. And then we go to school and we're taught conformity. And some conformity is important in life, so it's not all bad. But in that conformity, we start losing some of our creativity. So I tell parents, keep that creativity and that curiosity alive outside the school day, so that a child has that thirst of knowledge and thirst for learning. And then we get out of college, or we get into the workplace, and that conformity, we get into a position where we're making money and we get comfortable. And then that comfort turns into complacency. And I think that's what you're talking about. Even if it's not something we love, it's what we know. And so we get into this world of complacency. It's what we know, it's what we do, and somebody needs to rock the boat before we are going to change what we're doing, even if we don't like what we're doing. And so what happens is we have a crisis in our life. And that crisis turns our life into chaos. And so we find ourselves in this world of crisis and chaos, and it shakes us to have to become creative and curious again, because we don't have a choice. And in that creativity, or that next chapter, that encore we've been talking about, you finally have the opportunity to be a kid again, to be curious, to see what you want in life and how to create it, and how to create something that brings you value and joy, as well as serving others. And so it's kind of like that cycle of life. We're back into that phase where I see it in the two of you. You're curious, you're creative, you're finding joy in what you're doing. You're helping other people find that creativity and how to build their businesses. And that's what life is all about. And that's what puts smiles on our faces. And that's what we want everybody to have. But when there's that individual that you just described, they're in a world of complacency. The habit of, in Outwitting the Devil, is called hypnotic rhythm. They've gotten into this world of doing the same thing and getting the same results. And they're not the results they truly want in life, but they haven't been able to take the action to do something different. And that's what we want to encourage people to just take that first step. Do something different. Step out, go to a class, go to a new networking opportunity. Allow yourself to open that door for new exposure, new friends, new opportunities.
Wow. I just absolutely, I was hypnotized there. Sorry, I was just listening to what you were saying, because it really is going to solve a lot of mindset shift problems for a lot of people. Hearing you say it, Sharon, we can say it over and over and over again, but we're just Chris and Susan Beesley. We are not a Sharon Lechter of the world. And you know, you have influenced, you have a lot of history behind you. You speak all over the world, you've written books. When people hear it from somebody else other than you, that's as in us, suddenly things are clarified for a lot of people. Just a few weeks ago, we were at an event in London, and Gary Vaynerchuk was speaking there. Now, you either love him or hate him, but he speaks a lot of sense, and obviously his passion is entrepreneurship, just as it is ours, just as it is yours, Sharon. And it was one of those events where, again, I was absolutely determined that I was going to ask him a question, because he is impossible to communicate with. You can tweet him, you can Instagram, you can direct message him, but luck has to be on your side for him to pick up anything. But I did get to ask him the question, which was about, you know, we're so worried about people in their 50s and 60s, and particularly at that time, the question I asked him was those people 60 plus. And like Chris said, they bury their heads in their sand, and they just do not understand what is coming for them, or what is not coming for them, more to the point. And I asked Gary that question. I said, you know, what can we do? We are just prolifically out there speaking the message. We're the voice. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on webinars like this. We're on Facebook Lives. We're everywhere that we can be. And his answer was wonderful. And I think this will help a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are perhaps are on the cusp of giving up because their message is not getting out there, he says, just do more of it with different sprinkles on it. And I just see that, I see the ice cream with those hundreds and thousands all over it and thinking, do you know what? He's right. Because if our message is authentic and if our message means something to somebody, just one person, and we can reach that one person in some kind of medium, whether it's a blog or a video or status update on Facebook, even a show like this, then we've done a damn good job. And that completely changed our perspective on it, because we were just getting, I won't say depressed, we were just getting a little bit frustrated because, we do Facebook ads and we write story posts and all that kind of thing, and the interaction we get is quite scary. It's, oh well, you're lucky, or it's, oh well, what do you think I'm going to do? Well, like, we're just giving you a solution. All you have to do is click a link and get a book and read a book. That's all we want you to do. We want you to open up your mind to possibility. So I guess really the question for you is, what would your take be on it? How would you suggest we put more sprinkles on it, and how can we reach more people?
Well, I think from a standpoint of, there are some people that, as I say, are in that hypnotic rhythm of negativity. And as Napoleon Hill says, there's not much getting them out of that. There has to be a crisis that shakes them out of it. And this is something that I deal with as well. So Chris and Susan, what you're dealing with is what every entrepreneur is dealing with. And that is, sometimes you spend so much time on those few people that they're just not going to be customers. And so you want to continue finding new networks of people where your ideal customers are, and making sure that you are opening the world of possibilities for them by remembering, and this is something that I'm as guilty as the next person. We get to the point where we want to share what we can do for people, the features of what we do. And it has to be reframed. Reframe what you do every morning. Think about the problem you solve, the need that you serve. And everything you write or communicate needs to be as it relates to that problem you solve or the need that you serve. What is the benefit to your customer? They don't really want to know how you do it. True. They want the end result. They want to know what the benefit is to them. And so if you continue to if you're doing something and you're not getting the results you want, go back and look at it try to do it with an eye that isn't biased, and say, okay, I must have the communication, the messaging isn't what's not working. Not you. It's that messaging is not working. Yeah. So let's change the messaging. A/B test. Let's change the messaging, focusing on the benefit, and go back and see if you get better results. Because we take our stuff so personally. We send something out there and it doesn't work. I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. That message was a failure. That message did not draw, or it didn't get to the right audience. Yeah. And that is the beauty of the internet and the curse of the internet is you get immediate response or no response. And people say tongue in cheek, how many no's does it take to get to a yes? And just keep going, perseverance. But if it's the wrong message, wake up, realize it, and start changing it. Mm. And we're constantly working on our messaging. I mean, I write something that I just think, this is it. And I get no response. Yeah. And I have to look at it and go, well, I would have responded. Well, maybe I'm not my ideal target audience. So again, it's being authentic is number one. Creating messaging that clearly identifies the benefit to the recipient is where I would start looking. Because it gets very frustrating. People do Facebook ads, and you hear people, they're spending, $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, they're generating $500,000. I don't believe them. I really don't. I mean, they're unique Facebook ads are important. for in one area. But I think you want to also employ the messaging for those people who are your raving fans to be able to share with their networks. That's where the greatest wealth is going to be. It's that power of association. Yes, Facebook ads are an element of your marketing, but don't rely on Facebook ads. Understand that that's one tool in your toolbox for getting your message out. But when you get that message, when you get them to click on that link through a Facebook ad, it's what you continue to feed them that's going to create a lifelong customer, not the ad, but the response to the ad.
No, that's absolutely true. And in fact, I'm just putting together a book at the moment talking about the importance of storytelling, how you tell your story, first of all, through maybe your lead capture page and that you may have in a Facebook ad or some other kind of marketing. What the message is there, the story that you tell there, then how that story continues after they've, as you say, after they've given you their name and their email in exchange for whatever it is that you're offering, and then continuing to deliver the education through stories versus sell, which we see so often. And I know that certainly our business has been built on stories, and stories of adversity, if you like, and sometimes stories that, quite honestly, we didn't want to share. You know, we wouldn't be here today talking to you. We wouldn't be here today helping other entrepreneurs. We wouldn't be here today mentoring and coaching other people had we not had a big shake-up in our life. And that shake-up and sharing that shake-up through stories in as many ways that we can is going to influence other people, is going to help other people. So I guess that brings me to the question that I've been itching to ask you ever since we started tonight, is do you have any other books in the pipeline, and would you share with us if you do?
Absolutely. We've just finished another book. Greg Reed and I came back together and we're doing a book called The Magic Key. So it'll be a part of the Think and Grow Rich series where we've interviewed people about their secret sauce. And so that's really almost at the completion stage. We're right now trying to determine exactly how we're going to go about publishing that, whether we're going to publish it through the foundation or go to a big line publisher. And then I'm working on Think and Grow Rich for the Next Generation, a book for millennials, as well as a book that's going to be more of a graphic novel type layout with pictures for kids. Think and Grow Rich for kids. So all three of those are in process right now. So pretty excited about the future. And as I said, we're doing more and more online. And we're combining online education with access to us through private Facebook pages, because I do believe a lot of online courses are out there and people buy them and they start them and then they stop. They don't complete them. That's hugely, it's a staggering statistic. And I want to encourage people to complete the process so that they get the greatest value and the greatest engagement. So we have a private Facebook page where we support and encourage people to continue going through the process, and they have access to ask questions to us as they go through it. So it gives a little bit of the best of the both worlds: ease of being able to do the program and the ease of your own home and based on your own time, but having the access to us to ask questions and to network with the other people that are going through the program.
Yeah, no, we certainly find exactly the same. Not only do we have Facebook pages for specific audiences, you know, our entrepreneur page, we also have our retirement page, which is for 50 plus, but we're finding groups, Facebook groups as well, and obviously LinkedIn groups and Instagram groups are a way to bring people together, because to be successful, you need to be part of a community. I really and truly believe that, and it's something we never had in our career.
No, absolutely.
And I think as entrepreneurs, I think communities are really, really important. So I'm so pleased that you endorse that particular point, to particularly support. I mean, it is so important.
So when is the first book coming out then, the first new book coming out, Sharon? Can we ask that?
Don't really have an answer, but I do believe we'll probably have the first one out before the end of 2017 or very, beginning 2018.
Fantastic. Well, we're hoping to get ours out sort of middle of this year, so that's probably gives us a couple of months. We're going to, ours is the mindset shift, how to retire the new way, and we're going to share how becoming an entrepreneur is a great way to retire and have the lifestyle that you always imagined that you would have when you were working through your career, Sar. So yeah, very excited about that. So I was listening. Funny, I'm really so glad you said you've got together with Greg again, because I was listening to a podcast of his this morning, funnily enough, and I was thinking, do you know, I wonder if they'll ever write another book together, because 3 Feet from Gold
is amazing.
Is a fantastic book. Chris, we carry it with us when we speak, and 9 times out of 10 it goes on to stage with us. You won't believe this, but it does. And Chris will often say, I just want to tell you a story, and he'll share one of the chapters out of the book, because it is absolutely the most amazing handbook for entrepreneurs. And like we said, it's all about stories.
It's a very easy read.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It really is. We talk about storytelling as something that I teach. Rich Dad Poor Dad was hugely successful because it was a parable, it was a story. And so we have a choice. We can either dictate or we can share. And I think we live in a world where sharing is much more important, and you share through storytelling, because that your listeners, the people that are reading it, are more apt to relate and feel connected to you as an author, rather than you becoming the teacher. A teacher is here with a student here. When you're sharing a story, you're equal. And that's why storytelling is so important, because it engages your audience and it makes it more of a two-way communication. I say, if you think about a textbook, when you read a textbook, it goes into your eyes and out this way, okay? And you hope you retain it when you have to take the test, right? But when you have a book that really imparts knowledge, you want to involve the heart, because when they read it, it involves their heart, and that's what gives them lasting impression. That's what really makes you know that you've moved somebody to take action, is when you've shared something, not told something, you've shared something that impacts them here. And that's when they can truly take action and make lifelong decisions to change their life for the better.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're just about to finish tonight, because I know we've kept you on here for well over 60 minutes, but I think this sums it up. It's a message that's come through on our chat, and I'm just going to ask Chris just to move the slider up so that I can read it, because it sums up exactly what you've just said, Sharon. That's it there. He says, this is from Steve. So Steve, big shout out to you, and thank you for being honest and sharing your thoughts with us. He says, fantastic so far, I love it. Sharon has made me think what I have been doing wrong, from quitting my job back in 2004 to live the laptop lifestyle. But I've failed time and time again. So have we all, Steve. I have tried business opportunity after business opportunity, about 3 a year. We've all done it. But I keep failing. It's just finding the right one that will give me that big break, the one that I can say it changed my life. What would your final words be on that, Sharon?
Well, Steve, I appreciate you being honest, and it takes a lot of courage to share that kind of information with us. And I applaud you for acknowledging that there might be a different way. And we do talk about this, the ability to create your own life and starting a business online. But let's start, I just want to go back to that success equation that we share in 3 Feet from Gold. One of the things, yes, there's a lot of online opportunities. There's every day I have 2 or 3 network marketing companies that want me to join their business. And do they have an opportunity for me? Do I have a network that I could be successful in any kind of network marketing company that I would join? Yes, but that's not my passion. That's not where I want to be. And so I don't go in that direction. And so part of what I suggest that you do is start analyzing your own desires. What is it that really floats your boat? What gets you excited? What gets you out of bed? What are you passionate about? Like I said, we talk about passion, and many times we say, do what you love or love what you do. Well, for me, my passion came from anger. I was angry that we weren't teaching kids about money. So where is your passion? What is it that gets you going? And that passion is going to help you get through the negative times, because I challenge you lovingly. Okay, this is from a mother or grandmother. I lovingly challenge you. 3 different business opportunities a year means that you need to change something that you're doing, because you're quitting before you can realize success. It does, again, overnight success happens seldom. And so what is it that you can do? Find something that really encourages you, that you believe in, that you can have that passion that helps you get through the tough times, and have faith in yourself, and know that when it doesn't start, we start believing the hype that you're going to be making $10,000 a month in the second month, don't believe that. But know that there's an opportunity for success if the company has high integrity. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you look at the due diligence. Or have other companies, other people tried it, and then now they talk about the scam online. Do your research on these companies, but find something that works for you, a business opportunity that you believe in, that gets you excited, so that every day, and then how can you make it better? How can you share that opportunity with others? And each and every day, give yourself small goals. And once you change, we all have these big goals. Well, I say, let's have small goals along the way. And I say, get those little wins along the way that help you get to the big win. But, look for something, and then dedicate that you're going to put 6 months of energy into it before you walk away. At least 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months, say, what did I do right in this time period? And how can I do more of what I did right? And stick with it another 6 months. Now, I do a lot of speaking to network marketing companies, and it's a 4-year commitment to truly get to the point where you can say, I've got passive income that's going to keep me going. It is not an overnight success, even though they want you to believe that. Network marketing has a great formula if it's something you believe in, and you're a very social person. You can get out there and build that network, but it takes time. Just like every business, it takes time. So pick a lane that means something to you. Pick a business that means something to you, and promise yourself that you'll stick with it at least a year, and start every day accomplishing something that improves that business. At the end of every day, I have what I call a 2-2-2 rule. It used to be 2 handwritten notes, 2 phone calls, and 2 emails, or 2 faxes. Nobody has fax machines anymore. Today it's a 2-2-2-2 rule. I have 2 email posts, 2 Facebook posts, social media. I just still do my 2 handwritten notes. I do 2 calls and 2 emails every day. Again, on the future of my business, out of showing gratitude and propelling my business forward. And that's where that dedication, even when the going gets tough, you continue saying, how can I make this better? And you have the opportunity to really create the life you want. And you just haven't found the right company yet. But I would encourage you to read Outwitting the Devil, because I think it's going to help you identify things that sometimes we are our own worst enemy. We hold ourselves back. I know that when I first read the manuscript, and I had the honor of being the first, only the 4th or 5th person to have read it, it really helped me change my life. And that's why I was so earnest in wanting to bring it out to the world. So I really encourage you to read it, because it may help you identify things that just a small tweak will change your life.
Wow, what an amazing end to this show, Sharon. We are so grateful for your time here, and for everyone who's joined us either on this actual broadcast, whether they've joined us live, whether they'll see the replay when we send it out a little later. This has been full of golden nuggets tonight, and we are so grateful to you, Sharon. I really hope that when we next get to visit Arizona, minus Arizona Valley fever, I will say, which Chris has had to struggle with for the last nearly 6 months, that we will actually get to meet you, because I do remember you saying when we first met, do look me up when you come to Arizona.
Absolutely. And all of you that are listening to this, please, you can reach out to me, info@sharonlechter.com. More information about the business course that we're talking about is at masterbusinessbuilding.com. But I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. We'd love to support you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to your tribe. And it's wonderful to reconnect with both of you, Chris and Susan. Thank you.
No, thank you, Sharon. We're very, very grateful, as is everybody on the show tonight. I think you will have helped a lot of people today, and you will help a lot of people in the future. And after all, you've now got, between us, 180 years plus of experience. So who could ask for more? And guess what? We're all accountants as well. So guess what? You've got the very best of the best. Thank you, Sharon, so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you've got any questions, please leave them on our live on Facebook, and we'll make sure that we get the replay out to absolutely everybody. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed. We look forward to seeing you on the next show.
We do indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.